disaster of a parent-teacher conference? Ready to indulge in those "I wish I could say that" moments? You're in luck, because you've just pressed play on the top-rated teacher comedy podcast on the planet. It's time for Crying in My Car, a podcast for teachers. Here's your host, the teacher comedian himself, Devin Siebold.
Hey, welcome, Crying in My Car, podcast for teachers. My name is Devin Siebold, and I am solo in studio today. I hope everybody is having a wonderful day. It is interesting week for me. It's been kind of busy. I got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of teacher Zooms. If you're wanting a teacher Zoom, just message me online, teacherzoomshow@gmail.com. It is the end of the year. Lots and lots of schools are wanting some comedy, and rightfully so. It's kind of crazy how stressful this year has been, and so I provide that little half hour of comedy for you and your staff, and then also professional development if you want it. And the professional development is all about humor in the classroom. If you're wanting to know how to incorporate humor into your lessons and create some engaging content, and also get these students thinking a little bit more critically outside the box, that's what comedy does. It's not easy. I'll tell you right now, comedy is not easy, but I can show you a little bit about how to make it work. And I'm finding out how difficult comedy is lately, because I've been writing a lot of new material. And new material, man, it's one of those things that really makes you just appreciate comedy, because you're starting from scratch. So I'll tell a story. I actually went to New York City, and my favorite comedian in the world is Dave Attell. And I get the chance. He's at the Cellar, the Comedy Cellar. I call my friend Lynn Koplitz. She's got a Netflix special, very funny woman. And she sits me down in the jump seat, which is basically where the comedians sit before they go on stage. They reserved it basically for me, so I could sit there. Sometimes they do that where people can sit there, guests and stuff. And Dave Attell went up, and there were so many great comics that night. And I just was waiting for Dave Attell to crush it, and he bombed. And you could tell he was working on new material. He was trying stuff out. These were jokes that weren't ready just yet. And it made me so happy. I loved every second of it. And you say, why? You know, your favorite comedian in the world didn't do well when you saw him. It brought him down to my level, like trying out new material and getting up on stage and having that unknown. And it's such a weird feeling to see that somebody at literally a place where you want to be in your career has the same battles that you do at the lower end of the spectrum, when you're kind of down there battling, for relatively small stage time. And so that's the way it is. It's pretty cool, but it's also terrifying to be writing new material and jumping into that. And then on top of that, I see, oh man. So here's the thing. And I'm gonna brag a little bit. I've been writing comedy for a long while. MySpace days. I had a MySpace blog with comedy on it. I wrote online. I wrote my own blog. I had thousands of posts of comedy. I wrote so many different things. I mean, literally just comedy after comedy. I can pull up my notes on my phone, and it's just thousands of jokes. And some of it works, some of it doesn't, but I've been working at this for a long, long time. And it's so frustrating sometimes to see comedians online, like TikTok stars, and these people who have one or two videos go viral, and then they're plotting a tour, and they got a huge tour. They post it online, and then it's like, man, and they're selling out every show, and they're not good. They're not comedians. They didn't start out being comedians, and people are buying tickets to them, and they're just like, selling out these places based on their video. And it's so frustrating, because I've been doing comedy for a while, and then I put out, just a few small tour dates, and I don't sell well. And I understand why I don't sell well, because I'm on Facebook mostly. And Facebook, I love my Facebook fans more than ever, but they do skew a little bit older. And so, the 50s and 60-year-olds aren't coming out to the comedy clubs as much as the younger generation, the 20-year-olds and the 30-year-olds that are wanting to get out and have a late night, a 10:30 show. You couldn't get a 60-year-old to come to a 10:30 show most of the time, but you'll get that 20-year-old. And I'm not on the talks. I'm not on the ticks of the talks. I'm not on the Twitters as much as I should be, and the Instagrams to get that kind of following from the younger generation. And in the end, I only blame myself. I'm like, man, you're funny enough. Just post there. But then when I post there, I don't know. The comments ruin me, because this is the thing too, is that older people are so much more kind when it comes to creative input. So I'll put out a joke or a video. They'll be like, that was great. That was funny. Loved it. And if they didn't like it, they don't comment. But then you go on TikTok and you have completely random 13-year-olds commenting on your comedic skills and just running you into the ground. And it takes a toll. You're like, oh man, do I really want to go through this every single time I post a video where I have to look at all these horrific comments and stuff? So it gets in your mind, when you see other comedians just excelling and that you're 800 times better than them. You can outright them, outperform them, just destroy them on stage. And then here you are, performing at Dale's Junction Barn in the middle of, Pennsylvania Amish district. And you're like, where am I going with this? Why? And it's so funny because people always ask me what my goal is. As a comedian, as a teacher, I always wanted to get out of teaching and tour and do shows to sold out crowds. That's been my ultimate goal. I love doing the online stuff. I love doing the podcast. I love making people laugh, but there's no greater rush, no bigger thrill to me than standing on that stage and having people really enjoy the moment. I mean, I love it. It's just a drug. You get up there and you make people laugh, and you can see how much fun everybody's having. And I've said this before, but I'm a very positive person, and there is no greater place to be for positive energy than a comedy club and telling jokes that everyone is laughing at. No greater place to be. Not a sad face in the building. Nobody worried about their problems. And I just want to live there. I literally want to live there. I want to go out on the road and just go comedy club to comedy club, venue to venue, wherever my talents may lead me, and see that name up there. People buy tickets to it, go in there, just crush it, meet everybody, shake everybody's hand, take pictures, enjoy the moment, bring happiness to city after city. That's the goal. That's the goal. So, I've been fighting, trying to make that happen for a long time. And you assume with all these followers that people would just come out, but it's not so easy. It's really weird. You got to battle the TikToks and the algorithms on Facebook, and you post a tour date and 20 people see it, and you're like, oh, great, that's fun. That'll sell out well. And so, but it's always interesting. I think what's frustrating to me is too, I see like local comedians that are crap and literally have done none of the work. And they post one TikTok, goes viral. Suddenly, they're plotting their world tour and selling out venues, and it's just, it's a shot to the gut. Because, but the funny thing is that they're gonna see them once and never again. I don't want that. I want to keep going. I know I'm ready. So if I did get that world tour opportunity, I think that would be amazing to have that, but also know that I was prepared to really just go in there and crush it, and then have people go, I can't wait to go again next year. Because there's a few comics like that. Every year they come through and you just have to see them. They just got a brand new hour, just killing it, great material, and people just keep coming. I mean, there's people that I went and opened for John Reap, and there were people that like, this is our 12th time seeing him. That's the kind of people I like, that just consistently know they're going to have a good time and come out to a show. Which, by the way, devincomedy.com, there are tour dates up. Very few, just a few, but they are good ones. Richmond, Virginia, going to be this weekend with Adam Ferrara at the Sandman Comedy Club, brand new comedy club, a pristine venue. I saw the video online, and I'll be opening for Adam all weekend, Thursday through Saturday, if you're in the Richmond area. And then we are working behind the scenes on an Atlanta date. And just so you want to mark it in your calendar, it is still not finalized, but it is right there. It is probably going to be, if it happens, on June 6th, which is a Sunday at 6 p.m. Sunday at 6 p.m. I'm not going to tell you the location yet because I want to make sure that it gets finalized, and then we should be good to go. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think that that's going to be an amazing adventure to go to Atlanta. I have not performed in a real venue in Atlanta because Atlanta has the Punchline. They have the Laughing Skull Comedy Club. They are very difficult to get in, and this is the thing. It's a weird thing, but I don't like videos. Oh gosh, I know that sounds weird, but as a comedian, we do like 5-minute videos and stuff. I always think I crush way better in person. The videos, I like the videos that I do, but sometimes people just don't get the vibe. I feel like I give off a vibe, and that this all sounds incredibly cocky, but it's just, it's the same feeling you have as a teacher. And you're like, man, if I was in the classroom right now, the students would all be paying attention. They would be knowing exactly what I'm doing. They would be loving it. And then you do a video and you're on, Zoom, and you're like, I can't get anybody to pay any attention to this. It's ridiculous, and it's so hard. But here's the thing. As a teacher, in the past, before, I do hope that more teachers come out to the shows. If you get a chance to support me or live comedy in general, please do it, because for every one of me, there's 500 other comedians out there that are trying to make it. And go into local shows. If you have a local comedy club, don't just go to the headliners. Don't go to those big people that you know, because I'll be honest with you, the guys that you don't know are usually 900 times funnier. Everybody that's listening to this right now has probably, if you've been to comedy shows, gone, man, so I went to this comedy show and I went to see Rob Schneider, and the opener was way better. Well, that opener needs your support, because I've been that opener where they go, hey, man, you were awesome. How can I find more out about you? And then they never follow me. They never follow through with it. And it's frustrating, but we're just trying to build up our careers, and teaching world is pretty cool. A lot's going on this week. I'm very happy to see the positivity with Teacher Appreciation Week. I hope that it stays strong, after this, because we always tend to go, we appreciate you, we appreciate you, we appreciate you. And then Sunday hits and we go, okay, back to the cursed out email from the parent. That's fun. And this is the thing, we get our freebies and we get all of our stuff and we feel good about it. But, in the end, teachers just want more respect. They just want more acknowledgement overall, that their career is a very difficult one. And any sort of alleviation of the workload would be absolutely fantastic. Somebody posted online, I think I saw it on boardteachers.com the other day. There was a meme, and it wasn't a meme, it was a quote, I think, from Twitter, and they said, just once I want to be in a staff meeting where they say, here's what we're going to take off of your plate. Just once, be in a staff meeting and here's what we're going to remove from your plate. They never remove things, they add them every single time. Every meeting I've ever had is an addition to what you need to do. And I think that's just so telling. I mean, it's just always something new, but then they never take away the old or never refine it. Here's the thing. I'm not objecting to new things. As a teacher, I loved new strategies that I could use, but the additional work was too much. And it seemed like every time we got a strategy that I was like, oh, this is working, then we'd abandon it the next year for the next strategy. It would be, there was one year I remember I was teaching and we had Cornell notes, and I'd never done Cornell notes with my class. And these were high schoolers. And we started using Cornell notes, and I actually loved them on a personal level. I was like, I wish I had learned Cornell notes prior to myself going to college, because I was one of those note takers that just really wrote down every single thing and then struggled to piece it all together, organize it, find anything, or make any sense of it later. And when I taught the students Cornell notes, they initially resisted because it's something new, and obviously they usually do. But later on, I did find that my test scores kind of improved. Their study habits were a lot easier. And also, when we did review games and I gave them open notes, it was much easier for them to find the information and actually pull out the usable content and things that were relevant than the previous ways of them doing notes. And so, I loved it. And then we did Cornell notes. And then we did Cornell notes the next year. And I was like, this is even getting better. My students are, coming in and they already know what it is and they're able to adapt it and it's working. And then the next year, it was like, no more Cornell notes. Nobody else is teaching it now. We're going to stop doing it altogether. We're going to go to LEQs and DBQs and all sorts of Qs. And I've just got Qs of why we're doing all this crap. It was literally like just starting to work. And that's the problem is every single time they're like, we're going to introduce this. You're like, okay. And then it doesn't work. And this is the thing. You can sell me on something 2 or 3 times. You can't continue to sell me on something new later. So my early years when I'm a teacher and they're like, this is the new thing, I bought into it. I bought it. I said, this is it. This is what we're going to be doing. And I would really go hard in the class when it came to that. And then you find yourself 10 years into the game and they're like, this is the new thing. And you go, I've heard this before. And you'd half it. Or just barely skirt by whatever the bare minimum was because you knew it was going to change. That's the thing. We cry wolf too many times in education, and people just don't buy into it later. These veteran teachers, they're not bitter because of the profession. They're bitter because of the inconsistency. They're bitter because of the lack of follow through that we consistently have. I don't care about a professional development. I care when I have a professional development followed by another professional development that counters the original professional development. And then I go, why did you waste my time the first time? That's what I care about. I know that we need to learn more. I know we need to evolve. I'm open to new strategies. It's just when the strategies overlap and when you have unattainable goals that you consistently throw at people, then we jump through the hoops and then you find out later the hoops didn't matter. That's when we start to have a little bit of issues coming through with teacher morale and teacher consistency, and it's tough. But what are you going to do? So, anyways, Greg is out, by the way, today. Greg is Greg is losing weight. He is battling viral gastritis, gastrinosis, gasoline. I don't know. He's got something going on with his stomach, and he's been that way for the past like 4 days. So apparently he caught a bad bug, and that was the end of him. I had the same thing. So I don't know if I've ever told you guys this. I think I did. I think I detailed this story earlier, but I'm going to repeat it if you haven't heard this story. And I when he said he had that, I thought it might be mono. So I had a weird thing that happened to me, and the doctor said it was mono. It wasn't mono. I don't know what the heck it was, but I had a problem where I could not keep food in me. It would run through me instantly. It was disgusting. I mean, I literally I did an hour-long drive to a comedy show one time when I had this, and I had to pull over 3 or 4 times in gas stations to go to the restroom, and I had no food in me. It would just be consistently like dry. It was disgusting. It was horrible. And I remember I went to the doctor to try to figure out what it was, and they were like, initial test show it's mono. And then they did a blood test, and the blood test came back and said that I had 0 white blood cell counts. Normal white blood cell counts in that particular draw would have been like in the 100 range. Anything under 100, they hand count just to be sure they were accurate. They said I had 0. And literally, the doctor looked at me and said, so either you have leukemia or AIDS. And I was like, what? What? I mean, it was just so matter of fact. I went home. I cried for like a month straight. My parents were devastated. They did a second draw on my blood and said I was fine. They said that the white blood cell counts were fine. So they either got my blood confused with somebody else's, which praying that somebody actually got the correct blood cell counts to those people, or whatever I was going through at the time completely depleted my immune system. which I think is probably the better explanation, but I don't know scientifically speaking what I had. But then they were like, yeah, that wasn't mono. We don't know what you had. But I think I lost like literally 30 pounds over the course of 2 weeks. And that's insane to think of. But I've never been more sick in my entire life, other than swine flu. Swine flu, I thought was going to kill me. I had swine flu when I was in a summer camp, and that I think was my COVID experience, because I remember having swine flu, and my temperature did not go down for 3 days. I could not move. My entire body hurt. I couldn't physically even open doors. Like I was so weakened by that swine flu. And so that's why also I was so afraid of COVID, is I knew what swine flu did to me, and I kind of painted it along the same line. And I was like, oh man, I don't know. I don't want that. I had swine flu. If this is worse and has a higher death rate, then it could take me out. Oh, and side note, please be careful. Even if you have vaccinations, continue to wear your mask. My aunt was in ICU. She got COVID, was in ICU for several days. Luckily did not have to have breathing treatment, because she got COVID kind of early on, when they had antibodies, just after that antibodies, and before it really blew up even bigger. So they had antibodies to give her. She got injections of antibodies into her stomach, and she was able to avoid having the tube. So she got it. A few weeks later, I've told this story before. She blacked out. She was at a bar, which, by the way, I don't know. I mean, I guess she was just like, hey, I just had it. I'm not going to get it again real quick. She blacked out, and turns out her heart was just destroyed by this COVID. And she ended up having to have a stent put in, and they monitored her heart and everything. But the doctor was like, COVID really did your heart and your arteries really, a bad time. Then she got her vaccinations. 2 shots. Okay. And she got both shots, fully vaccinated. She went back to work, but she was having trouble remembering anything she was doing within her work. She literally could not remember things that were going on in her work, and what tools she was using, and where she was, and all this. And I mean, her brain was so foggy, and memory issues are a big, afterthought of COVID patients. And she was going through them, and was trying to stay home and say, look, I can't continue to do my job. I got to figure this out. I got to get better. I got to go to rehab. And with having COVID in the past, having 2 vaccinations, fully vaccinated, this past weekend, she got COVID again. And she was very sick, but this time did not have to go to the hospital. Luckily, COVID, the vaccinations did work in that respect. They say that you can still get it. The chances are small, much more smaller than if you don't have the vaccination. But the way golden lining with this vaccination thing is that if you did get it, it has almost a 0% chance of being rehospitalized or death, because your body has a much stronger defense against it. And luckily, she just had a really bad time of being sick for a weekend, and now feels much better. So hopefully, she avoided everything that had happened the first time. But what I'm getting at is, continue to play it safe. Please continue to wear masks and socially distance. I know a lot of schools are pulling back, but you kind of got to look out for yourself and look out for those around you. And you can't, I get so frustrated at people, where I go and places that I go, and I see these people that are being reckless, but you know what, that's on them. And I can't, you can't help everybody. You just got to kind of look out for yourself and those around you, those family members that you see and come in contact with. Don't fall victim to this mask pressure. Sometimes you're in an environment and there's 12 people without a mask, and you're like, well, they should be wearing a mask, and I've got my mask on. Maybe I should just take my mask off. Just leave your mask on. It's not inconveniencing anybody. It's just go for it. You don't need to protect yourself even with the vaccination. And the tough thing is that my aunt luckily got tested for COVID. I mean, a lot of people, this is the scary thing, could have gotten sick like she did and gone, well, I already had both vaccinations. Let me just go, let me just continue to go out. I'll see some people. It's just a cold. It's just a common cold. That's probably all I got, and might not have gotten tested and then continued to go places and see people and unknowingly spread COVID to these people that might not be vaccinated. So, you just gotta look out for yourself. Gotta worry about that kind of stuff, and hopefully, keep your head about you. That's the goal, anyways. All right, now let's go into teachers in the news. Oh, hold on. I gotta get the audio here set up for it. Teachers in the news.
From classrooms to chaos, we searched high and low for the craziest teacher stories this week. Here are your teachers in the news.
Teachers in the news. We got quite a few good stories, a lot of positivity coming out. I like to have a positive episode this time, since last time got a little bit heavy. If you did not listen to last week's episode, definitely received some complaints on that one. In Greg's defense, I am going to say, he's a good guy, but he did have, and we didn't really detail it, and we won't detail it really, but I'm sure if you messaged him, he would explain it to you. He did have a really bad run-in with police that were not kind to him. I mean, not kind to him at all. I mean, he was in a terrible situation where the police really did him wrong. And I understand his frustration, but I do want to send out an apology to those people that are very hardcore police. Blue Lives Matter. I agree. I think that police do deserve a huge amount of respect. And I talked with him, and he kind of came down from his heated tirade that he had on the show, and was a little bit more level-headed after that. And he was telling me, a listener emailed, and he's like, I'm going to email him and apologize. And it's true. He just got a little out of hand thinking of his own personal experience. And sometimes we kind of throw that cast net out there as one personal thing equals everything. It's kind of like the mentality that some people have. Oh, global warming doesn't exist. And because it's cold where I'm at, meanwhile, the rest of the world's on fire. It's that same mentality that you have to worry about. And that was definitely kind of along the same lines of what he experienced. And a lot of people have said, you didn't push back on him. That's because I know what he went through. And if you knew the true story, and maybe he'll detail it on a future podcast or something, you would go, oh, wow. Like you really got shafted, and there was multiple levels of people that did him very, very wrong. And so that's kind of, I kind of was like, dude, I wouldn't go that far. But in my head, I was also saying, you know what? If I was in his position, I might have a really, really bitter taste in my mouth too from all of that. So, all right, let's go into teachers in the news. Powerful Teachers Union influenced CDC on school reopenings emails show. This one I don't understand. So it's kind of a bombshell report that came out today that showed that emails between the CDC and the AFT, American Federation of Teachers, noticed that the teachers union influenced a little bit of the CDC guidelines on reopening the schools. I wouldn't go that far. It says they suggested language for the federal agency's school reopening guidelines released in February. I get that on the surface, it looks kind of bad, like to go, oh, the teachers union is telling the CDC, Center for Disease Control, how to operate. No, I don't believe that. I believe that it's more of a, you have millions of teachers, students, schools, and we need to all get on the same page and make sure that these guidelines are attainable, doable, and are going to be well received, but also within the same scope of what the CDC is providing. I think, I hate to say it, but I think it was a good move for the CDC and the AFT to talk, because sometimes they're just not on the same page. And then the CDC puts out guidelines that the teachers push back on and go, what? And the union goes, yeah, what? And then we just have it back and forth again. I think that, putting out the correct guidelines the first time and working together is a very good thing. But again, it's kind of painted as a, look at this, the AFT, the biggest union, is telling everybody how to do no, they're just simply going, here's what the teachers are experiencing. Here's what is best fitted for the schools. Here's what the teachers would, probably be on board with. and how it can safely reopen the school system. So, that's in the news today. I don't know that there. It says, it even says we're immensely grateful for your partnership, commitment to the partnership. It's not an overriding thing. CDC can put out whatever the heck they want, but if they're going to put out, if I'm working for the CDC and I'm going to put out guidance for truckers, I'm going to ask truckers union. I'm going to say, hey, listen, this is kind of what we're working with. Do you agree, disagree? I mean, what's gonna work for you? And here's the reality of the situation, because I don't know anything about truckers. I don't know anything about their situation, what they're doing. That's just, to me, common sense. But obviously today it's being spun around as outrageous. Being Teacher Appreciation Week, it is fantastic for teachers to scoop up some deals. If you were on my Facebook Live, I did a Facebook Live showing all the deals that are available. There were a bunch more that actually were available even beyond that. But there was something cool that I kind of wanted to outline on the Today Show. Teachers got a special shout out from astronauts in outer space in the space station. Astronauts Shane Kimbrough and Megan MacArthur delivered a special message on Tuesday on the Today Show. Greetings from the International Space Station. And they said, in this unprecedented time of history, one element has remained clear and consistent: the courage and dedication of our nation's teachers, who have repeatedly tested in the face of risks and challenges in this socially distant world. And it was kind of cool to see that, greeting from space. And it was done specifically for the teachers. It was a cool little moment. And they talked a little bit about how teachers have played such a role in their life. these astronauts got to this level because of instructors that came before them and passed on their knowledge of how to how to science, how to physics, how to do all of the elements of becoming and being an astronaut. And just to think about all the education that goes into NASA in its own entity and it by itself, I mean, it's really impressive. And teachers are to thank for that kind of stuff. They obviously had strong teachers in their life that helped influence them, and it was pretty cool to see a greeting from space. The next one is a little bit disheartening. I don't have the full article on this. I've only seen the video, and the video is quite, I would say, I wouldn't say morbid. I would say uneasy. The video is uneasy. A Florida teacher is caught on camera hitting a 6-year-old girl with a paddle. First off, 6 years old, I don't think so. The sad part is that the mom filmed it. Now, I'm not going to judge because I don't know the whole situation. And I'm going to try to look it up a little bit, but I don't. Paddling is not something that we're able to do in Florida schools, nor would I suggest it. Apparently, the mother did not give consent for the child to be hit. And the principal is on the video hitting the student, and the clerk is holding the girl's hands down. What kind of traumatic BS is that? I mean, apparently the school called the woman to say her daughter had caused damage to a computer. They said the fee would be $50. The mother said before the beating that she was brought into the office and noticed there was no surveillance cameras, so she secretly recorded what had happened on the phone. She said the hatred with which she hit my daughter, really, I've never hit my daughter like she hit her. I've never hit her. The mother said she couldn't intervene and stop the beating because she's undocumented. Oh, there it is. See, I didn't know. And that's sad, that is their situation. She didn't even want to speak up because of her own personal situation. So she has to watch her daughter go through that. That's disheartening. That's not good. So, apparently the principal did not have permission to do this, which, by the way, even if given permission, no principal in my mind should be hitting any child. Nor should anybody be involved in that. I think everybody needs to be fired. I'm just going to say it. I don't think they need to be in schools. If that particular school has a paddling policy, I think that school's license and ability to operate need to be reconsidered. And that shouldn't be the mentality. That's up to a parent to handle at home. It's not up to schools to enforce in that particular manner. And I'm very anti-spanking. I know some people go, well, I was, when I was young, I turned out fine. And I go, I don't know. If you're advocating for another child to be hit still, then I don't know if you did turn out fine. That's my own opinion, because I don't spank my kids. I won't spank them. It's not something that I do, and my children respect me. They love, the situation we have. I don't have any problem with their discipline, because I sit them down and I explain things to them, and there are consequences that are beyond physical that they do take notice of and respond to. So why would I incorporate that? That just seems more like an anger issue with the parent at the time. And I know that's going to be very controversial, because some of you do spank your children, and some of you probably do have a belt and kind of swear by it. And I also say, there are alternatives, and yeah, I hope you use them. That's all I'm going to say. I hope that you start to implement them, because there are better ways, in my own humble opinion. And that is, again, my opinion. I just don't think that it's a positive thing, and it's definitely not positive happening in Florida. However, let me say this happened in Clewiston, Florida. If you're from Clewiston, I apologize, but your town is a s-hole. I have driven through it many times, and every single time I never want to stop. It is a small blip of a city on Highway 27 in South Florida, and they are disconnected from the world on all sides. I think it's probably 40 miles north to the nearest city, 40 miles south to the nearest city, and I would. It's so crazy to me, but if you had shown me this video and told me this happened in a county in Florida or a city in Florida, I would have put Clewiston in the top 5. And I'm sorry if you live there. That's just you probably know. If you're listening to this, you're probably like, yeah, I get it. I've been to Clewiston, Florida. And just to give you an idea of where Clewiston, Florida is, I stopped in Clewiston at the Walmart to get basketball cards, because they were sold out everywhere. And I literally said to myself as I was driving through it, I said, nobody wants to be in Clewiston, and the people of Clewiston don't really want to be here. And there's not a lot of people that live here, but they do have a Walmart, not a super Walmart, a Walmart. And I thought, you know what, I'll stop in there and see if they had basketball cards. Sure enough, definitely did. It was one of the few places that still had them, because nobody wants to go there. But anyways, hopefully parent, well, oh my goodness. So I'm reading more, and I'm disheartened by this too. Corporal punishment is legal in 19 states in the United States, including Florida. I don't agree with that. And again, don't be mad at me. If you are mad at me, don't hit me with a paddle. But that just makes no sense to me. This is 2021. Corporal punishment. That should not even be in the vocabulary of school systems. I show me statistics that say that makes a school run better. I strongly disagree. I've been in schools that have implemented PBIS successfully. Haines City High School, used to work there. The principal and I, we had our moments, and he understandably didn't like some of the things that I did and some of the things that I said, and my absences due to being a comedian. But the amount of respect that I have towards him for successfully pushing and implementing positive behavior intervention system, PBIS, worked in that particular school. Referrals went drastically down, and we found children really wanted to do good if you gave them rewards for doing good, reasonable rewards, not overly crazy, not things that they're going to fake it. They just felt good about accomplishments. And when you get everybody on board, the entire school, it really does work. Positive behavior intervention, not negative. The more referrals we wrote, the worse the behavior got, because we're literally punishment. And it's, people just, these students were just saying, I'm being punished. I'm going to continue to be punished. But they had nothing positive to work for. When PBIS got implemented, it was a game changer for that particular school. And I hope that more schools have PBIS in them and are actively doing it. That's the problem. If only 5 teachers give out, little, we call them hornet bucks, but, little dollars and things like that, it doesn't work. when you have lunch with the principal, when you have a school store that you can spend with actually good stuff in it that kids want to spend these reward money on, when you have positive movies for good behavior and for attending, and you actually offer great rewards for the kids, it changes the dynamic of the school. Not paddling. On to the last one. A new generation of Black male teachers are going to start their journey with a partnership with Apple. There is a first of its kind teaching program in Huston Tillotson University. I may have not said that right, so I apologize if I did not. And it draws on inspiration and innovation. For more than 100 years, teaching has run through this gentleman's family, and they talk a little bit about him. And by the end of high school, he had never had a Black male teacher. And so he started to kind of explore what options there were for Black males to actually teach and why they weren't going there. Currently, only 2% of all U.S. teachers in the United States in public schools are Black. And so there is a new program that is trying to implement basically recruiting and properly training these teachers to be successful Black male teachers within the school system. And apparently Apple has backed it, and they have provided all the products for them. They have given a full online Apple teaching service center, and it looks pretty impressive. So I think that it's going to be pretty cool to see what they're able to come up with. But if you are listening to this, or you know somebody who is a Black male that is interested in teaching, or that you think might be a good teacher, it is a very positive program, and it's from Apple. They literally just announced it on the 3rd of this month, and it's got open enrollment available online as well. So you don't necessarily have to be in that particular university. And I'm willing to bet there are some scholarships or things out there that can help pay for this. It might even be free. I don't see anything about that, to be honest with you, because I did look to see if it was a free program or discounted or something that offered something affordable, but I don't see anything about that. But regardless, it's supposed to be, you get the backing of Apple, a major company, and that's going to look great on a resume too, so that you can maybe work your way into a higher education school, or get some better opportunities, have something to where you don't have to just take the first school thrown at you. Anyways, all right, so that is this teachers in the news, and man, I'm already at 42 minutes. I do appreciate you all listening. Patreon.com/cryinginmycar for subscriptions to the podcast. Now, here's the thing: I want to detail this before I kind of go into it. First off, if you are on Patreon, you also get access to my videos ahead of time. I post the videos on there at least 24 hours in advance. I try to do a little bit earlier than that, and you can watch them. So if you're a big fan of the videos, they're available on there online. And then I do want to say that I am actively looking. So Mike, good guy, love him. Such a busy schedule. I just don't think he's going to be able to come in and do the podcast much anymore. I would like to get another co-host. If you know anybody in the area, or somebody that, if you think you're a good personality and you'd like to, talk with us on here, we can do a trial run. If you think you might be a good podcast co-host, I can do it through the internet now. The only problem with that is, I do ask that you would have something good to record yourself with in terms of the audio. The audio, we really want to sound great. Don't want to sound like you're in your bathroom kind of co-hosting the show. But I would love to have some new people come on and co-host this particular show, especially with the video option we have now. If you go onto my YouTube, there is Crying in My Car episodes now that you can watch the video of. I'm staring into the camera right now as I say that. They will be uploaded, and so with that, we can actually incorporate a new face, a new voice into the show, and would love to have you. The only prerequisite is that you just have a good time, be a positive person, don't be a Debbie Downer, and that's all I ask. I just need one more positive person on my side to combat the angry Texans barrage of negativity sometimes. But if I can just have two and we can overrule him, I think that would be good. So thank you all for listening and for sharing and rating the podcast 5 stars. And we will be back next week with a brand new episode of Crying in My Car, a podcast for teachers.
Be sure to subscribe and rate this podcast 5 stars. Submit all your awesome teacher stories to cryinginmycar@gmail.com and check out Devin on tour. Info and merch can be found at devincomedy.com. Support the podcast on patreon.com/cryinginmycar and get exclusive weekly bonus episodes. And tune in every week for more hilarious stress relief for teachers right here on Crying in My Car, a podcast for teachers.